Hey everybody, my name is Michelle. I'm a therapist in the Seattle, Washington area with my practice, Next Chapter Counseling. And I got a question from someone recently who asked me to make a video about narcissism. So I figured I would give it my best go. But I also want to make it clear at the very beginning of this video that there are already tons of fantastic YouTube videos out there about narcissism. So I really encourage you, if this is a topic that you want to learn more about, go and watch the videos that already exist. There are lots of books out there about having a partner who's a narcissist or having a parent who's a narcissist. It's become something that's much more known about and talked about in society now, is this idea of what it means to have someone in your life who is a narcissist, because it can be more prevalent than we think it is. So there's already a lot of stuff out there, and I wanted to, instead of making a video where I just review the criteria for what it means to be a narcissist, I wanted to make a video about 3 things that I tend to see or hear about when clients of mine talk about their partner who's displaying some narcissistic traits, how I know or how I listen to potential indicators that this person they're talking about could be a narcissist. And before I get into what those 3 things are, it also feels really important to make a distinction here between the term I just used, which is narcissistic traits, and what we typically call narcissism, otherwise known as narcissistic personality disorder. That's the diagnosis that goes along with someone being a narcissist. And like I said, I'm not going to be reviewing that criteria today, because you can go out and Google narcissistic personality disorder and you can find all of that. But I really view it that narcissism is this spectrum, the same way that a lot of mental health disorders are a spectrum. Depression can be a spectrum, anxiety can be a spectrum, ranging from severe to mild. Narcissism, I think of it as it can be the same way. You can get someone on a very extreme end of narcissism, or you can get somebody who's maybe a little more mild, has some narcissistic traits, but doesn't probably meet full criteria for narcissistic personality disorder. And sometimes when we call someone a narcissist, that's really what we're talking about. They have some times where they display some narcissism. It's probably there. Is it on the extreme end? Probably not. So that's really where I want to focus on today, is maybe some of those indicators that the narcissism is present, but they're a little bit harder to catch. And just because you may have a partner who displays some of these traits, again, it doesn't mean they are a narcissist or that they have narcissistic personality disorder. But these are just some things to notice. And the other thing that I get asked a lot by clients pretty regularly is, what can you do if you're in a relationship with someone who's a narcissist? Can you change them? Can they change? And again, maybe that's a whole other video, but I'm going to give a really brief answer here, which is that narcissists typically do not find their way into therapy. Narcissistic personality disorder is one of the hardest things to treat, you could say, from a therapist perspective, because narcissists are all about wanting to look good to other people. And there's still this stigma out there that if you go to therapy, something is wrong with you. You're crazy. You're broken. You have trauma. There's something wrong with you, and that's why you're going to therapy. People still think that a lot. So narcissists don't want to look bad by going to therapy. Now, if they do happen to be in therapy, if that comes about for some reason, a lot of times they're pretty resistant to the therapist offering any kind of, you could call it advice, suggestions, guidance, any pointing out of, hey, or you could try it this way, or pointing out that something's maybe not working so well for them. They do not respond well to that, which makes the therapist's job very, very difficult. So it's really hard for therapists to treat narcissistic personality disorder, let alone if you're the partner of somebody who would meet criteria for that diagnosis, because they have to first see it as an issue. And the thing about narcissistic personality disorder is that it feels good to look good. They feel good when they are perceived positively by other people. And when they're putting out this really good persona to the world, that's very reinforcing. Why would they want to change it? Most of the time they don't. And they don't want to really even if they do start to see any kinds of issues, which again is very rare, but even if they do, then it would take them diving into what in their life experiences have led them to be this way? What happened in their childhoods? There's all this other stuff to dive into. The most of the time, they don't want to go there. So changing someone who does have narcissistic traits, or again, meets full-blown criteria for a narcissistic personality disorder, it's really difficult, and I don't encourage you to give it a go. I really don't. What I do encourage, and why I think this video could be helpful, and why all the other videos and the resources out there are helpful, is because having awareness is huge. It helps to, catch these things. It helps to notice that these things have to do with your partner. These things do not have to do with you, which they may really lead you to believe that it's you. You're the problem. You're the issue. But when you can see it through the lens of, oh, that's just the narcissism, then it gives you some emotional distance. And that can really, really help. So having awareness as being the partner of someone who has narcissistic personality disorder, that's your biggest tool, really. So, like I said, I'm just going to go over today 3 things that I see of signs of narcissistic personality disorder that sometimes fly under the radar, narcissistic traits, like I said. And just again, notice if these apply to your partner. And if they do, you don't have to try to change your partner, just notice. So the first thing I want to talk about is this idea of criticism. Because I think a lot of times people think that somebody who is a narcissist, and again, on the more extreme end, this can sometimes happen, but that somebody who's a narcissist, they're going to be putting down or criticizing the people around them all the time, pointing out their flaws in like an effort to make themselves feel better or more important than that person who they're criticizing. And actually what can sometimes happen is that rather than criticizing people all the time, because that doesn't make you look good. If you're in a group of people and you're criticizing someone in that group, people are going to look at you and go, well, like, why are they being so hard on them? So more often than not, what happens is like in a relationship with 2 people where one person has narcissistic traits, is that the person with the narcissistic traits is probably not going to criticize you in public. They even may not criticize you a whole lot in day-to-day life, like behind closed doors when nobody's around. The criticism may only come at very specific times. And the times where I see it most commonly is before or after you guys are about to be in public or go somewhere where you're maybe going to be socializing with other people, or it's an important event, or, you want to put your best foot forward. We all want to put our best foot forward when we're going to be around like our friends or like a work gathering or things like that. Sometimes even when we're just going to the grocery store, we want to look good. Sometimes, not always, but that's not uncommon. But the person who is a narcissist is going to put more weight on that. So they may be more likely to, before you leave the house, criticize, maybe what you're wearing, or what they think should be different or better. Like if you made like a dish to bring to a potluck or something, they may criticize the dish and say it's not good enough to bring to the potluck. Or after the event, they may say, why did you say blah, blah, blah to so-and-so? Like, I really wish you wouldn't have said that. But at the event, in the moment, probably not. And in day-to-day life, not always. So the timing of the criticism can indicate if it's due to narcissistic reasons or not. Again, in most relationships, if there is any kind of criticism going on, which again, sometimes our partners do things that we don't like or we wish could be better, but it's definitely going to be more spread out. It's not going to be as concentrated, and the intention of it isn't going to be to try to put up appearances. So that's the first thing that I would look for, is like the timing of criticism and what it tends to be about. That can be a sign that there could be some narcissistic traits going on. The second thing also that people tend to really think about narcissists is that narcissists never do or say anything nice to anybody else because they're so focused on themselves. And again, actually, that's not always true. Narcissists sometimes will give out lots of praise. They will do favors or help people out. But the thing that separates a narcissist from a non-narcissist when doing that is that the narcissist who's doing it they're going to consistently expect that in return. There's almost this ulterior motive that you can pick up on for why they're doing this nice thing or why they're giving this compliment. It's ultimately to make themselves look good, not to genuinely want to help the other person or to really give a genuine, heartfelt compliment. So you may see this in your relationship sometimes where they do something nice for you and basically all you do is say thank you and you don't necessarily reciprocate, and then they may become frustrated or upset of why didn't you do something nice back, or why didn't you mention something good that they did that day, or whatever it is. And this can come up in, again, romantic relationships. This can come up in coworker relationships, friendships, family relationships, really relationships of all kinds, where they may do something that's nice, but then when it's not given back to them, then they become upset by that. So that's something too that can be a sign of narcissism, is this expectation of like, why wouldn't you do that back for me? I'm supposed to receive something in return for doing something nice for you. And then the final thing that I want to talk about is this idea of being a workaholic or being a perfectionist. Don't get me wrong, lots of people are workaholics and lots of people are perfectionists without being narcissistic. These are common things that people, I guess, embody in a way or qualify as in society as either being a workaholic or a perfectionist, or both. They can commonly go together. So, but with narcissists, there's something a little bit different here. So a lot of times, eventually, if somebody is a workaholic or if somebody is a perfectionist, at some point they really start to see how that takes a toll on their loved ones, right? How that takes a toll on you as their partner, or how that takes a toll on their kids, if you have kids. They have these moments of clarity where they realize like, oh, yeah, maybe working 65 hours a week isn't best when I'm not even home for dinner one night a week. Or they realize, oh, yeah, my perfectionistic stuff actually makes the activity like less fun. Like my kids don't enjoy it as much when I'm trying to get them to do it the right way. They have these moments where they really see, oh, me being this way is affecting the people around me in a negative way. And again, it can take sometimes people a long time to realize this, but hopefully eventually it comes, and it can take a while to change too. These are ingrained behaviors that have been built up over a long period of time, but hopefully that comes. With somebody who's a narcissist, that realization doesn't come because they're not really concerned with how it's impacting you or kids if you share kids together, or their family members or whoever. They're not so concerned because, let's be honest, it makes them probably look really good at the office to be the hardest worker. It makes them look really good when they put in all this time to make the project as perfect as it can be, whatever it is. Now, again, if other people are around, they may make an effort very much to show up for those important events because, again, it makes you look bad if you miss your kid's birthday party 3 years in a row, for example. But with some of that more day-to-day mundane stuff that, again, at most points, someone will realize, wow, I'm missing this and I feel bad that I am. A narcissist isn't going to have that. And that makes it really hard if that's a sign that you see from them that they're not able to see your point of view or why this would be hard for you or your kids. They just don't have that insight or that clarity. That can be a sign that they're more than just a workaholic, more than just a perfectionist. There could be some narcissistic stuff going on there as well. So those are the 3 things that I see sometimes when I'm talking with people in my practice that, again, just give me these little nuggets that there could be some narcissistic traits going on with their partner. If it's a situation where they are only criticizing at certain times when it's before or after a public appearance, when they are consistently expecting compliments or favors in return, or when they don't seem to have any insight into how their workaholism or perfectionism is affecting the people around them. If you have a question for me about love or relationships, send me an email, nextchapter.michelle@gmail.com. Thanks, everyone. Bye.